This podcast was brought to you by Outsider. Check us out at www.outsider.com. Outsider is an outdoor lifestyle brand owned and operated by me, retired Navy SEAL Sam Mackey, and my dear friend and former NFL quarterback Jay Cutler. At Outsider, we encourage everyone to get outside and enjoy all that life has to offer. Head over to outsider.com to check out our unique patent-pending drinkware. Outsider's drinkware can be customized with your personal or business logo. Go to outsider.com, upload your logo, and we will send you visual proofs and great wholesale pricing. And don't forget, get outside and enjoy all that life has to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of the Take It Outside podcast. I'm Sam Mackey, and my co-host could not be here today, unfortunately, but the road goes on forever, and the party never ends. Our next guest is a 24-year-old Louisiana native, singer-songwriter, and self-taught guitarist. He composed and played every string instrument on each track of his debut project. Please welcome Payton Smith to the show. Appreciate you coming on, my man.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So we'll just get to the topic at hand. Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
Camouflage Town, it drops today. How's it doing so far? Or does it drop at midnight?
Yeah, man. So it's interesting. So like, I guess on the East Coast, it drops like at Thursday night. So it would have dropped like last night at like 11 o'clock, which I guess would be 12 o'clock East Coast time. But yeah, man, me and my wife did a little bit of celebrating last night.
Good.
So we went and had a couple drinks. And
What'd you guys get into?
Man, we ended up just going to. Our plan was to kind of bounce around to a couple bars.
Yeah.
We just ended up at one bar and 2 drinks, and it was like 10 o'clock, and we were like, let's go home. We were like, hey, you know what? Let's go home. So. Yeah.
Were you downtown?
We were in Green Hills, so close to downtown.
Cool. Yeah,
but
nice.
Yeah, man.
Good deal. And so, how's it doing so far today? I'm sure you're tracking it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's funny. I try to not like track it too much. Next question. You know, like because it'll put a lot of, I guess, pressure. I put a lot of pressure on myself, but man, it's cool to more than anything, man. It's cool to watch like people reposting it and sending messages about. Them hearing the song for the first time and then saying like, man, I grew up this way. And that's what's been the coolest thing about this song, man. We've never released a hometown song. I've been wanting to for a while, and I've wanted to write a song that's that felt like my hometown, but never really found the right one, I guess, the right song. And so I didn't write this one, but Red Akins, Ben Hayslip, and Jameson Rogers wrote this, and I heard it a while ago and just fell in love with it because every line in it, man, I was like, man, I know it was so relatable to me. But then I got to thinking, man, I was like, man, there's so many other towns that people grew up like this. People grew up the same way. So, man, it's been really cool to see the reaction of just people like relating to it.
Awesome. Now, born in Texas, but grew up in Louisiana?
Yes, sir.
Whereabouts in Louisiana?
I grew up in Houma, Louisiana, so like an hour south of New Orleans.
Okay, gotcha.
So pretty far down there. Not a whole lot south of New Orleans. But yeah, man, grew up down there, and I've lived here in Nashville for almost 9 years. So I moved here when I was a teenager. So.
Now, growing up down there in Louisiana, what is, I'm going to say, the topography like? Because I'm picturing, like swamp people down there that far south. And doing a lot of fishing, gator hunting, duck hunting, all of that.
All of that, man. Yes, sir. Yeah. Crawfish, gators crossing the road.
Really?
Like all of that, man. Yeah, the first time I ever took my, then she was my girlfriend, but my now wife, first time I ever took her down there, she was, she kind of had like the stereotypical Louisiana thing in her mind. She was like, "Oh, I bet
Where is she from?"
She's from here. She's from Nashville.
Oh no shit. Okay.
Yeah, she was born and raised in Nashville.
Where'd you guys meet?
We met here in Nashville when we were 15.
Okay, cool.
So, but yeah, dude, when I first took her down to Louisiana, she was like, "Oh, I bet y'all." I bet there's like gators, crossing the, and sure enough, we passed like, getting close to my hometown. There's like 3 gators on the side of the road. We had like crawfish balls every night. And so I was like, no, it's a real thing. All this, stereotypical Louisiana stuff.
Did you grow up on the water? or going out on the water?
I did, yes, sir. Yeah, we had a bayou in the front of our house.
Oh, really? So it's exactly what I'm picturing.
Oh, it's exactly. Okay. Yeah, man. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so you just, as a young kid, were you able to go out on your own, or?
Yes, man. That's what's it's crazy to think back on it now, but we had a what they call down there, they call it a pirogue, which is basically the French word for canoe.
Mm-hmm. Motor?
No motor, just paddle. Mm-hmm. But in the this bayou all the way in the back of our house was a tiny kind of more like a slough. I mean, it was a bayou, but yeah, man. When I was like 10, 11 years old, I would just go back there and get in the pirogue and paddle and fish and see gators. And now that I think about it, I'm like, I don't know if I let my kid do it, but I'm glad. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good memories.
As a dad of young kids, because I was a hellion growing up, and I had the ultimate freedom. I could just go do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And parents didn't check in on me much. It's one way to say it. And now with my little kids, I'm like, I want to give them freedom. My oldest is 8, and I want her to be able to run around the neighborhood and go to her friend's house and build that, independence. But then again, it's like I have 3 little girls, they're 4, 6, and 8. These girls are my life, the light of my life. I love them, and so now I'm paranoid, but I don't want to be a helicopter pilot, and I want to give them, the room to be independent and, grow and become strong, independent women, right? So it's quite the conundrum,
dude.
And just watching them like run across the field behind her house, I'm like,
watching, yeah. Dude, it's so funny you said that because we're having our first little girl.
Congratulations!
In February. Thank you, man.
Yeah. Little girls will make you softer and baby.
I was gonna say, man, I haven't even met her yet, and I feel like I just, it's probably good. It's good for me. It's probably good for my heart.
It is, but it'll make you a little softer.
It definitely has, man. Yeah. But
wait till you hold that little peanut, man. And she's gonna take everything from you. It is the coolest feeling in the world, and you can't explain it, to people that aren't parents.
I love it
because it's just so raw and emotional, and like you just made this little human being, and now you're responsible for her forever. It's not till like, oh, I'm gonna take care of you till you're 19, 18, you're out of the house. With girls and dads, I mean,
it's forever.
Right.
It's
very powerful.
How old are your girls?
4, 6, and 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I got a handful, and they're the greatest thing in the world. So you have a lot to look forward to. I'm pumped.
I love it.
How pregnant is your old lady?
Man, she's let's see. This is Hannah, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe my wife is 26. Pregnant.
An easier question. When's the baby due?
Yeah, there we go. That's better.
I fucked that up. That's my bad.
That's better. She's due February 16th.
There you go. Okay.
So yeah, man, we'll have a Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then baby time.
At least she won't be real pregnant when it's hot out.
That's very true. She was just saying that because she was like, man, I don't know how it would do if it was in the summer. So.
Well, that's freaking exciting. Yeah, so, growing up on the bayou, you go back there and fishing, and do a lot of duck hunting. One thing I've been to Louisiana, but I've never, I'm going to call it like had this swamp experience. I've always wanted to go, catch a gator, shoot a gator, go frog gigging, go get crawfish and have a boil. When you do a crawfish boil and you go harvest the crawfish, is it in one of those, I'm going to call them like minnow-like traps?
Pretty much, yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it is, mostly what I kind of have seen in, crawfish farms, it's rice fields, pretty much. So, I mean, you're trapping them, you got a boat that you're going through, and it's basically like a minnow trap.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What do you bait them with?
Man, so baiting them, I actually don't know what they bait them with.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what they bait them with. I've never actually been on one of those boats before. I've just kind of seen them from afar. So I'm not sure what they bait them with.
Do you ever do any frog gigging growing up?
We did. Me and my buddy. Me and my buddy would go in the back bayou, and we were more causing trouble than gigging frogs. But
now I heard that frogs have red eyes and gators have green eyes or something like that? The way they glow when you hit them with a light?
I've heard that too, but I always find that like it's hard to tell because I always feel like when you see a gator at night, they still look like they have the red eyes. Okay. And then then frogs is kind of hard to tell. Like you can kind of just tell like that there's a light, I guess, if that makes sense. Like you can just tell like, oh, that's a pair of, eyes right there. Yeah. So maybe it is like the red and green eyes, but it's hard to tell sometimes. Like, I don't know.
Do you do a lot of cooking?
I have.
Yeah.
I still feel like I'm trying to like get good at my dad always cooked gumbo and jambalaya and all the Cajun stuff. Shrimp boils, crawfish boils.
Because I feel like men do a lot of cooking in that culture.
A lot, man. A lot. And as a kid, I never took any interest in it, at all. But now, I love to do it. Dude, honestly, cooking is like one of the main things I feel like is a great way for me to turn off the rest of, whatever's going on, music or whatever. It's one of the things that I feel like I can go and focus in on for a few hours. That's what I love about Cajun cooking too, is it always takes 4 or 5 hours.
So you're around and end up drunk.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that's the point. Dude, I'm telling you, man, but that is the thing about Cajun cooking. I'm telling you, is the whole thing is you start your day at 10 o'clock. If you're cooking a gumbo, because you're going to get a roux going, so you got to get that thing going for at least 2 hours, cook that thing down. So you might as well just start drinking beer then, So that's how it was, man. That's how it was at my house, It was great.
A guy that I worked with for a long time, he's still in the SEAL teams, but he's from Louisiana, so we call him Swamp Donkey.
Yeah, man. Come on.
We did a deployment together, but then we were also at a training cell together. And one weekend, he's like, "Man, I'm going to make some gumbo," and he was out there all day, then had to go back and check it. And I went over and had a few beers with him when he was making his roux.
Yeah,
and that's a very interesting process.
It is, man. Yeah. It takes a minute. Like the thing with the roux is, it's gonna make the flavor of the gumbo, like it's gonna make or break the flavor of the gumbo. So
that's what he was telling me. He's like, if I fuck this up, everything's done. Dude, I gotta start over.
Absolutely. If you fuck it up, it's not. You have to start all over. So I mean. You don't want it to burn, but you don't want it to be too light, because then it won't have as much flavor. So you constantly have to be like kind of balancing that, whatever you're cooking it on, you got to be, balancing the heat out.
Is it essentially flour and oil seasoning?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You could put seasoning. I mean, I put flour and oil in it. I know a lot of people do roux different ways, but I like doing that. I love cutting up, put some onions in there. And kind of, it's just, you constantly have to be moving the pot. You can't let it sit for, I would say maybe more than 20 seconds or it'll burn. So, you're there for...
That's what I remember him saying, I can't burn it.
Yeah, can't burn it, because then you got to start all over. And but yeah, it's worth it though.
Yeah. I love a good gumbo. And I love Cajun food a lot.
Yeah, man.
So how'd you start playing the guitar? You're self-taught, so parents just buy you a guitar for a birthday or Christmas or something? Yeah, man.
Ever since I was a young kid, like 5 or 6 years old, I was just always, before that, I was obsessed with music. Just loved it. And
running your family?
Yeah, it doesn't. I had people play guitar in my family, but my dad knew a couple chords on guitar, and my parents just always played music, like on the radio. Music was just a part of like our family's life. Like it was just always on. There was always music going on in the house. So I felt like I just grew up loving it. And when I was 6, I wanted to get a guitar, and I did end up getting a guitar, but I didn't learn how to actually play it until I was like 9 years old. My dad, I wanted the electric guitar, as every, fourth grader wants. Like, I want a guitar. I want an electric guitar. I want to, rattle the house. And, but my dad ended up getting me an electric guitar when I was 9, and then he taught me 3 chords and
G, C, and D.
G, C, and D. But what was funny was, I would like be learning a song or something. And, it would have like maybe an E minor, the minor chords. And I'd be like, Dad, there's this other chord in here. And he was like, yeah, I don't know about all that shit. But yeah, he was like, just G, C, and D, 3 chords in the truth, But yeah, man, it was it's always, I don't know, man, it always just felt like it's been a part of me, the guitar. Like it says things that, I don't know. It's almost like the other voice. When I stop singing, that's the other voice that takes over.
That makes sense, for sure. So how'd you teach yourself these other chords? And obviously, I've seen you play and watched some of your videos and everything. You're extremely talented. I mean, you've evolved well past the country chords, if you will, G, C, D, E, and F.
Yeah.
I feel like you play 90% of country songs, with those chords.
Yeah, you can.
But you're up there ripping solos like you're Van Halen.
Trying to, man. It doesn't always come out the way that I hope it does sometimes, but yeah, man, my dad taught me those 3 chords, and then I remember watching Keith Urban for the first time when I was like 7.
He's a hell of a guitar player.
Man, just an incredible guitar player, and the energy that he puts out, and I remember watching that, and I remember watching Brad Paisley. And, just being just mesmerized by their playing.
Didn't they play together? Is that the one you're speaking of? They played together and they had their guitars out there and did a little, battling
They did a
back
battle,
and forth.
Yeah. It was a song called Start a Band that they did.
I remember that.
Great song, man. Yeah. Great song. But I remember watching them do that. And then, man, my dad, my mom was all 90s country and gospel, there was some gospel Christian music in there, but a lot of 90s country. So my mom had that always playing, whether it was, Brooks and Dunn, Shenandoah, all the 90s stuff. So I grew up around a lot of that. But then my dad, he was all like Def Leppard, Boston,
all right.
Metallica, hair bands.
Big Metallica fan.
Yeah, man. All of that. So those are my first memories of music. So I feel like a lot of that heavy rock stuff was, it definitely influenced me a ton because it was so much about the guitar, right? Whereas country was all about lyrics and storytelling and those, all of those things that make country great. But rock was just so much about just great riffs and energy. And so I felt like it was interesting because it's weird to think that I thought this at 6 or 7 because that's so young. But the first time I saw Keith, it was almost like this thing of oh, that's what my mom listens to. That's kind of like what my mom listens to, but it's also what my dad listens to. And I don't know, it was just oh, that's kind of a blend of both of what they listen to.
Sure.
And yeah, man, it influenced me so much,
So you just started playing, and can you hear a song now and just play it? What was the progression from, G, C, and D to, being a great guitarist?
Yeah. Well, I still feel like I'm still, always trying to.
From someone that can still only play G, C, and D, you're a great guitarist.
Thank you, man. I guess, man, at that point, I was able to, YouTube was around,
Gotcha.
So I was able to go and watch, other people play and really study notes. And, man, I would honestly, man, just sit in my room. I got to 11, 12 years old and just listen constantly. I still had CDs that I would, it was probably the last CDs that were around, I guess, but the last CDs that were being sold, but I would still go buy CDs and just play them on a Memorex player and just constantly just listen to songs and figure it out.
What's a Memorex player?
I don't know, like a CD player.
A CD player?
Like a CD player.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was called. If it's not, I think it was that. But
man, when I was young, we had tapes.
Yeah. Oh, dude, man,
I remember when CDs came out.
Man, you know what? Not to get off subject, but dude, we're getting the baby room ready, and I had a bunch of stuff in this closet, and I ended up getting all of it out a couple weeks ago, and I found this box full of my mom's old cassette tapes that I guess I took when I moved out, and now we have like a tape player at the house, and so I was able to put all those cassette players back in, and dude, it was the most. I have not enjoyed listening to music that much in a long time, and just sat and listened like that, and being able to push the tape in.
I feel like that's what I do with a record player now.
Yeah, dude. It was funny, man. These tapes, they were a little like warped, a little bit, But man, just the feeling of like
from being in the hot car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the feeling to be able to push it in and like just analog, man. Yep. In a age where everything's so like pull up on your phone and
exactly.
There's something about that. There's something to it.
Have you had one get stuck or get jammed up in your tape player yet?
I did. I had Reba get jammed.
Oh, poor Reba.
I was pretty upset about that one.
Were you ever unclog the jam?
I was able to get it out, but I don't think the tape works anymore because I had to
You got to take it out, and then you stick a pencil in there. A number 2 pencil fits perfectly in that hole, and you can wind it and feed it back in there nice and easy. Like yeah. Okay. I mean, might be worth a try if you saw.
I'm gonna go try that. Yeah. I'll go try it.
Old trick of the trade. So you said you moved to Nashville when you were 15?
Yes, sir. I guess it's kind of a long story, but I started coming here when I was 14 years old.
Okay. From Louisiana.
From Louisiana. Yeah. We were, make a long story long, we were supposed to go on a dove hunt in West Texas, me and my dad and my brothers, and it was going to be a pretty wild time, and I think my dad was like, let's don't go to that. How about we go to Nashville? Payton's been wanting to go to Nashville. We'll take the whole family to Nashville, and we'll make a trip out of it. So we went there on Labor Day weekend, and I just love playing guitar. Like if we were on vacation at the pool, wherever, I loved playing for people. I loved just entertaining. Like that's just always been like just to feel like a piece of me that it's just always been there. And so I ended up going down to the hotel lobby that we were staying in Nashville and just started playing. Just started sitting down there and just playing guitar for anybody. And got a good little crowd around. And then the concierge that was there, my parents came down and they were talking to the concierge and they were like, I hope this is okay. Like, we don't, I was surprised I didn't get kicked out because that doesn't normally, that's not normally how that goes. But the concierge was like, do you understand? Like, he's really got something, told my parents that. And my parents were just like, and my parents didn't have anything to compare it to. So they were just like, we just know he loves it. We just want to support him. We would want to support all our kids and what they love. Like that's, at the end of the day, that's it. So, the concierge was like, well, let me make some phone calls. And man, lo and behold, a couple of days later, we were meeting with a guy named Buddy Cannon, who produced all the Kenny Chesney records. Another guy named Brian Wright, who was A&R at Universal Music. And another guy named Mark Bright, who was at Show Dog at the time. And so all these meetings in a couple of days on one day.
So let me get this straight. So you guys didn't go on the dove hunt.
Yeah.
And came here. You're staying in a hotel. You go down to the lobby and start playing music. And then get your break. First time singing in front of anybody in Nashville, essentially.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was there it was the concierge that made all those calls to people, and they were like, yeah, sure, we'll take a chance. And then just one thing kind of led to another, and so I remember walking out of the Buddy Cannon meeting, the producer, and basically he was the first guy that was like, hey, y'all should start coming to Nashville. I'll set up co-writes. The first thing that I want you to learn how to do is how to co-write and how to write songs, and make sure that the beginning of your career is all based on the song first. And so my parents were like, all right, we'll start making trips every month, for a week. And, and so.
Were you homeschooling?
I was homeschooled at this point. Yes, sir. So we would come up here and, stay for a week. I would learn how to write with other people. I had maybe, 4 or 5 people that I was writing with, but Buddy, the producer, he would just, he kind of took me under his wing and just taught me a lot about the industry. And but, it's crazy because, thinking at 15, I guess then at that point, we're starting to, I'm like, man, this is going to be incredible, man. By 16, I might be, this and this and that. I guess
everything takes a long time.
Everything takes a long time. I mean, it'll be 10 years that I've lived here, which is crazy. But man, I'm so thankful for that time because it taught me so much. Those first 4 or 5 years, we ended up moving here, and at the end of 2015, beginning of 2016.
Okay.
My family did, and I'm so thankful for that time because it taught me so much about basically making the foundation of the song, writing songs, and making sure that was the number one thing that I held on to. So I'm so thankful for all that time that, at the time I was like, oh, I want this to go, but I'm thankful that it didn't because I think that, I think God had other plans around that point.
So I've talked to a bunch of musicians and, about songwriting and all that. And it sounds like the songwriting process typically, can be a bit of a party as well.
Yeah.
And, but at 15, did your mom or dad come with you to all of these things? What was that like?
Yeah, man. My mom and dad were just, I can't even begin to describe the amount of support and love that I felt from my parents. Literally just because they knew that I wanted to do it. Like that was they moved here because they knew I loved to do it and just wanted to support. And so my mom and dad would, my brothers, my 3 younger brothers, we would all come up here, stay in Airbnbs, that first year and a half. So while I was writing, my dad would kind of, go on lunch meetings, coffee meetings, and kind of learn about like, what are we getting in? Like what are we getting into? What is Payton?
What's he do for work? Or what do your parents do?
So my dad, a couple years ago, so my dad was kind of in the industry for a little bit.
Really?
A couple years, he was in the industry
after you guys moved here.
After we moved here,
because he learned all this as you
kind of
learned
it.
Yep,
yeah.
Gotcha.
And was just and his whole thing was like, I'm just here to help my son. He was like, as soon as it's time for me to, step back, he's like, I'll always be here to just help. That's the reason I'm here. It's just to help my son. So, but a couple years ago, my dad, they moved from here to Mississippi. They bought a chicken farm and a cattle farm.
Oh, nice.
So that's what, that's what my brothers always had wanted. My brothers had always wanted to be on a farm.
Oh, really?
And
so
my dad.
Are your brothers down there in Mississippi with them?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
They are.
How old are your brothers?
Let's see. I've got Zachary. He's 24. He's 23, almost 24. And then Caleb, he's fixing to turn 21. And then Nathan, he's 14.
Oh, all right.
So, yeah, man.
Well, Nathan's on Easy Street.
And Nathan's on Easy Street, man.
The youngest is always out easy.
I got to say, man, that dude, he works his butt off on the farm, though, man. Like, I just went down there a couple weeks ago, and he's driving tractors and just, he runs the ship, man. I'm proud of him,
Are any of your brothers musically inclined?
No, I don't. Not that I know of.
Yeah.
If they are, they've never shown. I don't think they want anything to do with it. Probably. We kind of all have different tastes in music too, which is kind of funny. So,
what do they like?
Well, my brother that's almost 21 and the 14-year-old they love hip hop.
Oh, really?
Rap.
Okay.
Like that's their.
I liked rap as a kid. I liked the old, Dr. Dre and Snoop and all that.
Dude, it's hard. I was telling him that last time I was down. I was like, because not that I'm like, hating on new hip hop rap, but I was like, y'all should go listen to Forgot About Dre.
Yep.
Y'all should go. I was like, y'all should go dive back into some of these records.
Yeah.
Chronic, dude. Those records are they're amazing. But they love that music. My the brother that's closest to me that's 23, he loves alternative, kind of more pop alternative stuff. So we've got it's kind of run the gamut of musical taste.
Have you heard of that one? I don't know the guy's name, but he sings a bunch of hip hop songs, but in a country tune.
I know who you're talking about. I'm not going to be able to remember.
That's pretty impressive.
Is.
There's like Nelly in there. I think there's some Snoop or whoever.
Yeah, I've seen those videos. It's really good. It's amazing,
impressive.
man.
I was watching this. It was side by side. I don't know who either one of them were, but obviously the guy listening was a hip hop guy, and he's in front of his what do you call these soundboards?
Yeah,
he's in front of his soundboard. And then with a split screen, then that guy starts playing, and he really gets into it, and he starts adding to it, from his soundboard. It was impressive.
That's sick, man. Yeah,
it's cool. Or no matter what type of or genre of music that you're involved in, artists can appreciate other good music.
Absolutely, man.
They just see talent and they're like, man, this guy's talented in a different arena, but than I am in. But
it's the respect.
I like that. Yeah, for sure.
It's mutual respect, man. I mean, I think also, man. I mean, where country is today, I think the generation of country, we grew up hearing so many different kinds of music, and so I think that plays a little bit of the sound of country today. I mean, country's just become such a wide genre. I love it, man. You can have somebody like Zach Top, who's just doing just classic core, country to the core stuff, and then Morgan, who kind of throws in this pop thing to it. It's a really
Jelly
cool time.
Roll and what he's doing.
And Jelly, what he's doing, man. Hardy, I mean, Hardy's crushing with the just heavy rock thing. It's just a great time to be in country music, man.
It is.
It's really cool.
So, your single dropped today. What do you have planned for the rest of the day? Are you guys going to go like sing at bars and see little pop-ins, or I picture of it more of a party, and it might not be a party.
Yeah, we did a big party on Tuesday night at Losers here in town. We did we called it a camo night.
Yep.
And just kind of had everybody show up in camo. I think Losers just about hit capacity, which
really?
I was shocked. I was blown away. I did not expect it to be that big, but it was so awesome, man. It was so humbling and so cool to see. But everybody wore their camo, so we kind of got to celebrate that night. The song coming out. So yeah, man. Today, I would really like to go celebrate in a deer stand. That's kind of how I would like to go celebrate. I don't think I'll be able to do that today, but that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Sam Mackey here. I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Spartan Forge. Spartan Forge has no doubt made me a more effective and efficient hunter. Spartan Forge was founded by former U.S. Special Operations Intelligence Officer Bill Thompson, who took his 21 years of military experience fighting the global war on terror and applied his learnings to his true love, whitetail hunting. My favorite feature on the Spartan Forge app is the LiDAR for finding draws and funnels. It also has an AI deer movement prediction tool, so you know when and where to go. It has historical wind plots for selecting stand locations, and Cyber Scout for just about anything else I need to know. Spartan Forge, a veteran-owned and operated American mapping and scouting company. Use promo code OUTSIDER20 to save 20% on a premium membership to Spartan Forge. That's OUTSIDER20, OUTSIDER20. This episode is brought to you by Code Blue Scents. Code Blue's famous from one deer to one bottle collection process is a breakthrough technique that guarantees the certified deer urine comes from a single deer rather than several, producing the purest, most potent scents. Check out Decode Unscented Field Spray. Their unscented field spray is specially formulated with medical-grade nano-silver particles to eliminate human odors. Easily suppress scents from pets, smoke, exhaust, and your own natural smell before entering the woods. Also, check out their new scent and scent elimination products. Check out PST, Pure Estrus Aerosol Spray. Irresistible doe estrus, now in a convenient, easy-to-use aerosol spray. This new formula allows you to apply the scent in short bursts with precision and zero mess. Simply spray it on branches, leaves, and more for maximum impact as you make your way to your hunting spot. Also check out Decode, Unscented Hair and Body Foam. This unscented, long-lasting hair and body foam is a perfect final step in your hunting prep. Just a few pumps distributed on your scalp and any other exposed skin rids away any unwanted traces of sweat and odor, giving you the competitive edge to go undetected by deer. Visit www.codebluescents.com and use promo code OUTSIDER15, that is OUTSIDER15, to receive 15% off all Code Blue products. Multiple uses okay, cannot be combined with other promotions. I don't blame you. I was thinking of a way to try to get up there today also to go hunt. But because I'm jonesing. But next week, as I was telling you right before this started, we have our Gold Star Wives Hunt. So we're having 5 widows from Naval Special Warfare. So their husbands were all SEALs up to hunt. And the rut is on, sitting the last couple days. And just, I feel like I forget every year how quick these deer can move. And it's like, because I saw a shooter... I don't know, 40 minutes into my hunt on Wednesday evening, and But I mean, he was doing Mach 3 after this doe. Stopped for a second, and he was back. I couldn't have taken a shot. Oh yeah, and
he was full on. Yeah.
So I'm excited to have all these gals out next week and sit with them, and hopefully they can put some nice deer on the ground because there's some nice ones out there.
Yeah, man.
Have you? Do you go? Where do you hunt at? Do you go back home or?
I do, man. I go back home. You know, it's funny. I haven't done a whole lot of deer hunting up here in Tennessee. Really, man. I grew up hunting Mississippi and a little bit of Texas.
Yeah.
Kind of
West Texas mainly, or
West Texas.
Yeah.
Yes,
whereabouts
sir.
out there?
Let's see. I'm gonna forget the name of the place. Man, well past San Antonio.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna remember the name of the town specifically, but would go out there. Been out there a few times with my dad and his best friend.
What were you hunting?
We were hunting axis.
Yep.
And I call it Psycha deer, but I know
Sicka
deer.
Yeah.
I've always called it Psycha deer. I don't know
one,
why.
Like over there on the table. So there's one around here.
Yeah. I ended up killing one.
They're delicious.
They're great, man. Yeah. They're so good. I ended up killing one. I mean, it's been a while since I've been out there, but I ended up killing one like when I was 14 or 15. Pretty deer. Like so pretty, man.
They are gorgeous deer.
They really are.
I was fortunate enough to shoot one a handful of years ago out in Texas as well. And that's what surprised me is how delicious they are and how pretty they are.
Very delicious.
I got real fortunate because I was out there hunting deer, and it was the first morning, and I see tons of buzzards. I don't know, a couple hundred yards away from where I was sitting, and the guy comes and picks me up, and I said, "There's something dead over here." And he goes, "Oh, shit." I'm like, "What's that?" He's like, "Well, we had a hunter leave camp early this morning. Yesterday morning, he shot a nice Sicka deer, and he wants to full body mount it." And he's like, "I hope that's not the deer." We drive up to it. Of course, it's a deer, and the coyotes already got to it.
Right.
But he was able to get the antlers off of it. And then later on that day, we're just cruising around. He's showing me the property, and Sicka deer steps out of the bush at like 300 yards, and they're very elusive animals, right? And so I just hop out and I just center punch this thing.
Yeah,
I didn't even know whose rifle it was in the front seat, and hop out and drill this thing at a couple hundred yards right in the chest and drop it dead. Well, I was fortunate because I got the European mount in the meat, and
oh heck yeah,
and
dude.
He was able to get the hide for this guy's full body mount for his other customer.
Dude.
So it was
worked out great.
It worked out real well.
Did you see any rattlesnakes while y'all were out there?
Not on that trip, but a guy I was hunting with got bit recently. I forget. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got bit last year or last month or something like that." And because I had the same snake boots on as he had. And I think they're Justin's. They go up to your knee, and it's like the Kevlar right here or whatever it is. And that's what he got bit walking to the tree stand that I was going to. And he was with me, and he said it felt like someone swung a 9-iron at his calf, a full swing. He's like, it hurt so bad. He's like, the fangs couldn't penetrate his boots, so he's completely fine. But he said he was all bruised up.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I'm like, a 9-iron.
Wow, man.
That's
yeah. I mean,
I like golf, and I feel like getting hit with a 9-iron would suck.
Yeah, that would suck. No matter which way you spin, that would suck. That's crazy.
But so my good buddy Pryor Blackwell, one of the greatest human beings in this world, he had me out to hunt once, and he has had a big ranch in West Texas, in Albany, and so we go out there, and he's like, "We're gonna have some fun. I got a surprise for you," and he didn't tell us what it was. A big group of us go out there. It was like me, my brother, Morgan Latrobe, who's a congressman in Texas now. He's with us, but we were working together at the time because in the SEAL teams. And we go out there. He's like, "Boys, we're gonna go catch rattlesnakes." And my brother hates snakes.
Oh yeah,
hates them. And I'm like, "All right, well, this is interesting. How do we go about this?" He's like, "It's easier if you just see, right?" And so we all had snake boots, and he had some chaps and shit like that. We'd put on. Well, we go down there to this cliff face, and where a bunch of the snakes have denned up, and they're just about to start coming out of their dens. It's starting to warm up. We're walking down. And right away we see one. Morgan catches it. And we have this old timer with us, and he has this wooden box, and you catch it with the snake grabbers, right?
Right.
Just grab it behind the head and throw it in the box. So we're doing that, and caught all the ones. I think we caught another like one, maybe two out in the open in front of this cliff face, and then he has a bug sprayer with gasoline in it, and at the end of that bug sprayer, there's he took a hose clamp and put a long piece of copper tubing off the end of that bug sprayer and would go around and just pump just ever so slightly into the cracks, like barely in the cracks. And the fumes were enough to draw the snakes out.
Really?
And they just slowly started coming out, and we just kept catching them.
How many did y'all catch that day?
I don't know. I'm willing to say 20.
God, dude, that's insane.
And then they were all live.
Yeah.
So then he's like, "Oh, we're gonna go back and take pictures." I'm like, and Pryor's one of those guys. He's like your typical older Texas gentleman who, instead of giving you details, will just tell you like, "Hey, we're about to do something fun," because he loves surprising people, and everything he does, or not everything, but a lot of things he does are very outlandish under normal circumstances, like catching these rattlesnakes like this. So then we go up there and dump out the box, and there's snakes all over the driveway. We're separating them, and they're all pissed off, of course. And he's like, "All right, grab one. We're going to take pictures." And he's like, "This is what you do. You just grab behind the head and then grab their body, and you hold them out like this." And I'm not going to lie. I thought twice about doing it.
I bet. Yeah. I would have too, man. God.
That's a long answer to your question, but I've fortunately never been bitten, but I've seen and caught a lot of them. Yeah.
I remember the name. We were in Junction, Texas.
Okay. Yep.
So that was the name of the town.
I think Jay and I were out near there earlier this year. We went on a Hilo hog hunt.
Yeah, man. Dude. Oh my gosh.
Me, our good buddy John Hughes, Matt Bess. He one of the owners of Black Rifle Coffee Company, and his brothers. And we go out there and we thought we were going out there just to shoot hogs. And then we had a guide with us, and the guide guides for all the properties around. I think we were flying like, I don't know, 1 million acres. And he's like, "I talked to all the ranchers, and we need 700 all dad killed as well." And we're like, "Well, how the hell are we going to do this?" Yeah. And I'll be damned, we got up there one person at a time with the guide and drive around, and the pilot would separate the rams from the ewes as much as he could. Then you'd start just hammering the ewes.
Wow,
and we killed 700 all dad, and I don't know, every bit of 300 hogs, 500 hogs, something like that.
Because the amount of hogs.
And a bunch of coyotes. I actually shot a coyote chasing a lamb, or I think all dad's little ones are called lambs, maybe, chasing a little lamb, about to eat it.
No way.
Yeah, and I shot the coyote.
Wow, dude. Wow.
But coyotes were the hardest to hit for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I haven't been back there in a while. I need to make a trip. Hopefully next year is the time where I can get away for a few days and go make a hunt out there.
So the landowners wanted us to kill these aoudad because they're an invasive species, and there's bighorn sheep out there. Yeah. And bighorn sheep hunts, they go like, I don't know. I know someone just paid $1 million for the world record. So, I mean, granted, that's the world record. Yeah. But they're extremely expensive, right?
Right.
But the aoudad are spreading diseases to the bighorn sheep, which is the native species. Really? So they need to control the population, and so that's why we're able to go shoot these ewes.
Where did the aoudad? Where did they come from? Like,
ooh, I couldn't tell you. I would have to guess some sort of Asian country. I'm thinking like Pakistan, Uzbekistan region. But I don't know. I could be completely wrong on that. Ben, what do we got? Where are aoudad from?
We got Morocco.
Sahara,
Western Egypt, and Sudan.
Okay.
Egypt and Sudan. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. God, and the fact that there's, I wonder when the first ones, that'll be another thing we'll look up later.
I don't know if they got brought over for a high fence ranch and just went crazy, or I have no clue how they got introduced or when they got introduced.
Yeah.
But I do know it's easy to kill exotics even if you don't have a high fence ranch in Texas, because so many of them gotten loose and there's no hunting season on them. So That's always a good time. What's your favorite thing to hunt?
Man, I grew up hunting ducks in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And man, I love that so much, man. Like,
we were talking earlier this week, and I think duck hunting could be the most expensive hunting.
It is quite expensive.
Just because
quite expensive.
Granted, you could do the same thing with deer hunting because then you're buying land and you're buying protein.
Sure.
And like you can just keep dumping money into it. But pound for pound, gear wise, I think you could spend more duck hunting.
Gear wise,
yeah,
yeah, man. I mean, plus, just the amount of shells you're going through.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going through boxes and boxes of shells. I think also, man. I mean, depending on what kind of duck hunting you're doing, I guess, like.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I guess with like the land, I guess like rice, like a rice field.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're paying. I guess you could get on a lease, on some rice fields, but like you're paying a good bit of money for, to the rice farmer that maybe owns that, or to buy, a bunch of rice fields is quite expensive, and to keep that running. I have one of my dad's best friends owns a 1,000-acre rice farm.
Do they flood it?
They flood it.
So they have like a dam that they built. And
man, they have
how
these.
Does that work?
Yeah, they have like these basically canal systems that they can kind of control from from the top of the property, that they can control when the water comes in, can control when they can pull it out. So like early in the season for like teal season, the water will be kind of most of it will be out. It might be like maybe a little less than a foot, maybe a foot of water out there. So you got, not a whole lot of water in those fields.
Does teal season open up before like pintail or mallard or anything like that?
Teal season opens up. Well, in Louisiana, it opens up in September, like the back half of September.
Okay.
Which is right around gator season as well.
Oh, really?
So you can. So what we used to do was, we would go to this spot, and we would go, hunt rice fields early in the morning, which in September in Louisiana, I mean, dude, it's still hot.
Yeah.
You're soaked. I mean,
mosquitoes everywhere.
It's mosquitoes everywhere. I mean, but a lot of fun. I mean, you'd kill a lot of teal, a lot of fun. But yeah, what we would do is we would go out there, and then, everybody had some tags, to go kill gators after that. And so we would do that, 4 or 5 days.
What's that transition look like? So do you go from a hunting blind to a fan boat, or do you like?
Yeah, man. So we would kill them on land.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man. So we would leave the duck blind, go back, maybe get some breakfast, and then get in the truck and go, because a lot of them will be in these canals, these kind of canals surrounded by the levee, and so you could go, string up some chicken that's been sitting for a couple days, and string that up, and then go out there. I will say I've actually never done it on a boat. I've only done it from land. It is a pretty intimidating from land.
I mean, I couldn't imagine. So you do the whole chicken baiting and all that on land.
On land.
So they crawl out of the canal, and is there a hook in the chicken?
There's a hook. There's like a treble hook in the chicken.
Yep. So they eat the chicken, they get hooked, and I imagine it's some sort of like 550 cord or steel braided cable.
Yes. Yep.
What do you guys use?
Yeah. I mean, like a 550. So basically, I mean, something that will just big enough.
Yeah.
Will get pretty much just lodged in once they take the chicken.
Yep.
And they're not gonna. Some of them. It depends. I mean, you get a big enough one, it could get away.
Yep.
You get a 12-footer, there's a good chance it's gonna probably get away. That's the other thing too, man. I mean, when you're pulling the gator up, you don't quite know how big.
So on land, but then is the rope long enough they can go back in the water and chill out?
The rope's long enough where they can go back in the water and they can chill out, and they can kind of lay on the bottom.
Yep.
So you're slowly pulling that rope up, and you can feel just solid weight, but you don't know, like you don't know.
I would love to do this,
dude. It is so much fun. We should do. Hopefully, like next gator season, we should do it. I'd love to take you up on that. It's so much fun, man. But yeah, I mean, and it's honestly, I mean, it'll get your blood pumping, but it's also, you get that gator to the top, and then right behind its eyes. That's where you shoot it, and
use 22.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can use a 22. I mean, that's what I've used as a 22. But yeah, man, you can get back behind there, and it'll kind of, once you pull it up to the top, it'll kind of, float up. The only way it's really going to start moving a ton is if you just jerk, kind of jerk the rope, and then once it realizes that it's
controlled
stuck,
by it,
it's going to start going nuts. If you really want some adrenaline, you can pull the rope and do that. But yeah, man, a lot of fun,
So after you catch the gator, what's the cleaning process? Do you only eat the tail? Like
a lot of people. I mean, man, you can. There's there's a 100 ways to skin that cat or that gator. but yeah, man, the tail's like, that's great. There's a lot of other pieces on there that you can eat. I mean, every part of the gator is usable. I mean, I've had some guitar straps made.
That was my next question. If you made anything out of them,
I've made some guitar straps. I would love to get some boots, or I'd love to get some more. My brothers have like some wallets. My dad has an alligator wallet, and then man, the tail meat's just, it's so good, man.
Now,
so good.
When you clean it or gut it, I assume it's just like every other animal. Do you have to do anything special?
Man, some friends of ours, they what I've seen them do, kind of a hack, because that skin is just, man, it's so tight, it's so hard to cut into.
Use a gut hook.
So what they do first, you can use a gut hook.
Yeah.
But what they do is they'll get a like an air compressor.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly where they put it, but you can get an air compressor and blow the gator up to where like the skin kind of gets separated.
Does it have that sinew like a deer or other animals do in between the the skin and the meat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
so the air compressor's kind of doing that for you.
Air compressor can kind of do that for you. Now it's just super tough, right? Yeah. Like it's just super thick skin, so it just kind of helps everything to. That's just a hack that I've seen people use, and it does help it. It still takes a good little while to clean the gator. But that's a hack that I've seen people use,
Now, what's your favorite way to cook it?
Man, fried.
Yeah.
Fried gator tail. It's just hard to beat that, man.
It is. So, you always hear from people down in the swamp or Louisiana eating all sorts of interesting things. Did you eat any interesting things growing up?
Man, not that I've heard people like
possum or raccoon.
I've never had possum or
like that.
You know what? I've heard people eat nutria rats down there.
I've heard of that.
I've never done that.
I've shot a bunch of them, but in Texas, but I've never eaten one.
I don't know that I will either. I don't know. Maybe depends on how you cook it, I guess.
I think I would. There's not much that I wouldn't try. I've traveled quite a bit and been to a lot of countries, and so I always try to find the most. I'm going to call it like ethnic food out there. I was in Africa once, and there was a wild game restaurant, and you can get almost anything. And we were there for a handful of months, and I'd go once a week.
Man.
I tried to try everything on the menu. Oh yeah.
What was your favorite thing that you tried?
I kept always going back to the kudu.
Okay.
Yeah, it was absolutely delicious, and let's see. Ostrich and ostrich eggs, and we had crocodile. I forget what was all on that menu, but it was very, very interesting. Just think, like your African Plains game, all of that was on there,
right?
For the most part. Then a few, I'm going to call more exotic things, but I tried it all.
Yeah, man.
I thought it was all good.
Yeah.
So
I love it, man.
There's not much I would not try.
Yeah. I'm trying to convince my wife right now, because she didn't grow up hunting at all. So I mean, we always had venison at the house, and I think she's coming around to it a little bit. But we'd always go on. When I was a kid, we haven't done it in a while either. But when I was a kid, me and my dad and my brothers, we would go up to Colorado.
Yeah,
and we'd go elk hunting out there.
Have you killed an elk?
I haven't killed an elk.
I killed my first one this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Where'd you kill it?
In Montana. Jay has a ranch up there about 80 miles north of Bozeman. And I finally drew a tag. I think it was like my third year or my fourth year. I think it was my third year, though.
Okay.
And so I went last year, and I don't know if I went the year before that or not. But I would always have a bear tag, so I'd just join.
Yep.
But I didn't get in the mix, right? I would just say, hey, I'm going to this hilltop, and I'm just going to glass. If I see any, nice elk, I'll drop a pin and send them to you guys, so you guys can go make a move on them. Well, so this is my first time like truly elk hunting, and first of all, it's freaking tiring, right? I think we were walking about 14 miles a day.
Yeah.
And uphill, it felt like the whole time. But I think it was the fourth day, Jay and I went out, and I was hunting with a gentleman by the name of Jay. His name is JD before, good friend of mine, and he was calling, and because I'm just learning to call also. So he's helping me out calling, and he's a very experienced elk hunter. The closest we got was 70 yards and with no shot, but we gave it hell. And all the bulls were bugling, but the cows were not nestrous yet.
Okay.
So the bulls were not coming to cow calls.
Yeah.
So it was very frustrating, but we were able to locate them all.
Could you smell them like beforehand? I remember
absolutely.
that. I remember being able to smell them when they were close.
And it gets real strong, like we're in them. He's right over this next little hill or something, right? And so Jay and I hunt, I think JD and I hunt the fourth morning, I think it was. And Jay's like, hey, let's go out and hop in the Jeep and cruise around and check cameras. And because he had some cameras on the south end of his property that he hadn't looked at yet. So we go drive all the way around his property, and we get back to the north side because we do a big loop, and hear a bull just fire off, chase him for a bit, then down to, I'm going to call it the south side of this northern hill, and then go over to the north side. Then they're all right there, and we're in them. And Jay's behind me calling, and I mean, we're literally crawling under these trees and these bushes, and finally get to the last line of cover. And there's about 11 bulls and I don't know how many cows, a lot of them, right? And call this one spike in to, I don't know, 5 yards maybe. And we have this perfect little setup. It's opening in the trees on the last line of cover, and Jay's behind me moving around cow calling, because that's the technique, is you want your caller behind you, and that way the bull will come in and ignore you and go right to the cow call, and you could shoot it on its way. Well, that wasn't working. So none of the big bulls were coming in, and so this one bull was kind of walking down the hill, angling towards us, and got on this bush hog trail or fire break road out there, and Jay's like, 80 yards, send it. I'm like, oof. So I dial my sight to 80 yards. And I'm taking my time because I'm like, I don't know, 80 yards.
Yeah, man.
And I look back at him, and he's laying down behind me. And then he goes, 80 yards, send it. I'm like, so I draw back and I get on him. And as soon as I get on him, Jay lets out a cow call because he was facing away. And then turns almost broadside, but more quartering away. Yep. And I'm like, I put my pin on it. I'm like, all right, just sent it. And my arrow does this big spiral and comes down and wham. I'm like, man, that felt pretty good.
Yeah, dude.
And then Jay runs up behind me. He's like, oh, he's hurt. He's hurt. Took 5 steps, and he's like, knock another one. Because when he took 5 steps, he was acting funny. Right. And a couple of them took off running. And he's like, knock another one. And then I hear a thump. And I'm like, interesting. I'm like, it sounded like a big animal hitting the ground. And he's like, he just fell down. And I'm like, did he crash? He's like, I don't know. And then when he fell, more elk started running. So then we lost where he was, right? Because there's a bunch of 5x5s in there and some 6x6s. We're like, shit. So he's looking through his binos, and I'm just behind my tree trying not to get seen, right? And then it takes 5 more steps back to right where I shot it on the road and falls down.
Dude. Yeah. Oh my gosh, man.
It was epic. Actually, what I was thinking when you said your wife's just getting into venison and things like that, I've always, in the neighborhoods I've lived in, I always kind of been the redneck of the neighborhood. Like, who has a 4-wheeler in this neighborhood? Who, who's this guy's cleaning catfish on his tailgate? Or, it always has deer or like X, Y, and Z, right? And now everyone's becoming more health conscious. And my wife's friend just sent her something this morning, and it's like, oh, the healthiest meat, elk. Dude. And I just got my elk meat yesterday. and then under that was venison, then or deer, and then you had like bison. It was like the top 4.
Dude,
and
there's like when you're cooking elk burgers, there's no like the amount of oil that is not it's not greasy. Like it's not full of like
exactly
when you pat those things out, it's not like your hands aren't covered in grease.
And I had breadcrumbs to my burgers just to help them stay together a little bit, or like crushed up Rick's crackers or anything like that works. But there's a lot more people that are interested in wild game. I have my neighbors now like, hey, will you shoot me a deer? And Jay's trying to shoot I think 40 does this year on his property to get the doe to buck ratio more balanced. And I'm like, well, if you pay for processing or whatever, I'll go whack a deer and have it pressed.
Of course, man.
And so even my neighbors are getting into it, and now I got a bunch of elk summer sausage. I'm like, these are perfect Christmas gifts for the neighbors.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, dude, I love that, man. Like, especially this year, man, you feel the shift going on of like people watching. Oh, maybe that thing that I always get at the grocery store, maybe the hunters had it right in the first place, you know? Right? Like maybe they had it right in the first place, I love that, man. I think it's, I think especially when you're actually cooking it and you can see what's going on while you're cooking game, like I think that says all you need to right there.
We try to only eat wild game, and the beef we eat, luckily one of my good friends, he owns it's called Little Belt Cattle Company. It's out of Montana. He's a former Navy SEAL, and his business partner is Tim Cheehee, who just got elected senator of Montana.
Yeah, man. Yep.
So those two guys own Little Belt Cattle Company together.
Okay.
And so I got the hook up on good beef.
Love that, man.
So now we're trying to just go all organic in the meat department. In the house.
I love it.
And my kids crush it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But I didn't mean this to turn into a damn cooking show.
No, no, man, this is great. I love it. I love it, man.
But my wife makes chimichurri. You know what that is? Chimichurri sauce.
Oh, yeah.
And I have that on elk tenderloin. That is freaking amazing.
I bet that's incredible.
Then we ate some more elk tenderloin. It was Wednesday evening when we were hunting up at Jay's Ranch in Kentucky. And his dad made a sauce. It was mayonnaise, horseradish, and mustard.
Okay.
That's it. And he's like, yeah, I like this on my, to drizzle this on my tenderloin when I eat it. And I had it, and that was delicious too.
Yeah, man.
But I like horseradish. It was heavy on horseradish,
for sure.
which I like a lot.
Oh, I love it, man. So good.
You mind playing a song for us?
Yeah, man. Of course, dude. Absolutely.
Christina, my gal, she's like, yeah, we have Payton Smith coming on. And then I started watching her videos. I'm like, man, will you ask him if he'll bring his guitar?
Dude,
I'm like, he's a hell of a guitar player.
I'm honored, man. I hopefully I remember how to play.
G, C, D, and E.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, when all else fails, that's it. It's a jacket on a Friday night at every hometown football game. It's a koozie on a Bud Light round a fire with your buddies off a two-lane. Might be what you wear to work. It might be what you wear to church. It ain't a color in the rainbow, but it's a color around here though. It's a sticker on a truck window from a downtown drag to the dirt roads. It's a way of life all year round, even on a map we can't be found. It's a camouflage town, yeah. Yeah, it's a camouflage town. Yeah, man, that's just us. And how we grew up, man, that's just us in a camouflage town.
Great song. Great job.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it,
Payton Smith, everyone. Go find him, look him up, and download. Is download still a thing anymore? I feel like
download still,
or stream.
Streaming and
Camouflage Town.
downloading.
Yes, I download all my music.
I love that,
and
man.
Everyone always busts my balls for it, but when you're out on a boat or you're somewhere, or you're traveling and you don't have service, I have all my songs.
Dude, I'm with you.
Go ahead and download it. Bring it back.
That's right. That's right.
So, man, exciting time for you. You're new song dropping. You got a baby on the way. Recently married?
2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. 2 years.
Awesome. You got a lot to look forward to.
A lot, man. I feel it's definitely a season of just gratitude, man. Ton of gratitude.
There is one thing that I want to bring up that I think you wanted to bring up that is also important to me. So I don't want to look over it by any means. Is November is Men's Mental Health Month.
Yeah, man.
So I was in my notes to mention that. Why is it important to you?
Yeah, man. I think we've partnered with Movember on for this month for just, man, so many reasons. I think that mental health for men is not I don't feel like it's talked about near enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's super important to talk about it, to have real conversations about it, to have a community of people to be able to talk about those kind of things with. And I especially, man, I think in every industry, it's important to have that community to have somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically on the music industry, man, it's a interesting time, man, because there's so much going on and the landscape's changed so much, and I think that comparison is a big it's a big thing. I don't think a lot of guys like to talk about in the music industry, but it's a real thing that that I think people struggle with and trying to keep up. And so I just think what Movember is doing is just they're bringing awareness to mental health for men and starting a conversation about it. So it's just super important to me to
I think
be part
that's
of that.
extremely important. And, I've never thought about this through the lens of the music industry, but, essentially what the music industry is, it's entrepreneurship, right? Because you're selling yourself, you're selling your brand and everything like that. And the highs and lows and stress of, I'm going to say, owning your own company or entrepreneurship are unlike anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have the best day in the world abruptly followed by the worst day.
Yeah.
Right.
So true, man.
And that's the way I look at it is, great days and they can be followed by horrible days. But, my goal was to make those swells smaller and not get wrapped up around how good something was or how bad something was.
That's right.
And just maintain good days. And I remember, I'm going to call it even back in it was 2010, 8 time frame where, mental health amongst men just was not talked about. I remember coming home from deployment in 2010, I think it was, coming home from Iraq and you have to stop in Germany for 2 days for a decompression stop, they called it, and you have to talk to a bunch of psychs or someone. And even everyone at work is just like, you just go in and give the standard answers, right? Fine, good, fine, great,
Sure.
I just want to go home.
Yeah.
And I looked at it like that as well. I don't want to talk to these people. They know nothing, so on and so forth. And they're kind of too cool to talk about if anything affected me. Personally, I was fine. And everyone said they were fine. One of my good buddies, he mentally didn't come home from that deployment. It fucked him up big time. Now he's doing great, but it just goes to show maybe if we would have caught that earlier.
Yeah,
or had the conversation about it.
The conversation.
Maybe he didn't have to go down, as far down that path that he went.
Absolutely,
right? Maybe
man.
draw him back a little bit.
Absolutely.
But I think the stigma is going away. Unfortunately, we had to learn a lot of lessons the hard way, and
man.
people taking their lives and things of that nature, right? Which is absolutely horrible to even imagine that someone feels that bad. And so I think it's extremely important. So I think it's a great message, a great thing to talk about. Just check on your buddies.
Check on your buddies, man. Even if, man, it's just being there.
Yeah.
Right? You can sit there and in silence. The amount of times that I've felt like, when I've needed it or somebody else needs it, whether you're talking or whether you're just sitting there with them, being there, that's it.
Yeah.
Just being there for somebody, being there for your buddy and being there for, Goes a long way.
And it's not easy to be a good friend, right? It's
Yeah,
not convenient.
no, yeah.
It's,
Yeah,
you know,
man.
it's difficult. And I've always tried to pride myself on being a good friend.
Yeah,
like
man.
you can ask me for anything, but be careful because I'll help you out and I'll do it. Right.
Yeah.
And, and I take a lot of pride in that, but it takes a lot of time. It takes, you know, a lot of uncomfortable moments. Right.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
But I think the more you do it, the more those uncomfortable moments and asking that initial question, like, hey, you good, bud?
You good?
Like, oh no, I'm good. Of course you're going to say that, but you know, everything else, all the other signs and symptoms point to you're not good.
You're not good.
So
Yeah.
let's just peel that onion back a little bit and talk about it.
Absolutely.
No judgment whatsoever.
No judgment whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's it, man. I mean,
so
that's it.
You heard it from the man. Be a good friend.
That's it.
You know, check on your buddies. Make sure everybody's good.
Yeah, that's right.
Payton Smith. Where can everybody find you? Look you up.
Yeah, man. On Instagram, it's at the Payton Smith. I mean, that's the one I use the most. I mean, everybody's on TikTok now, so I'm on TikTok.
I saw a blurb this morning saying TikTok's going to get banned. I don't know if it's fake news or not. Ben, is that fake news? Okay.
We shall see. We shall see. You know, I think we'll see what happens.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate you coming in, and congratulations on everything. It's a great song.
Thank you, man.
I hope you crush it out there.
I appreciate you having me.
Yes,
man.
sir.
Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.